Number 10, Super FNAF 2, Wonderful Day. This game honestly looks like just a lot of fun. It's been in development since 2017 and is a platformer with lots of dark, hidden secrets for you to uncover. The trailer spins it as a game created kinda by Fazbear Entertainment to promote their franchises, who teamed up with obviously the company LSF Development to actually make the game. LSF Development is the actual creator of the game on Game Jolt. There is no expected release date, but the creators are hoping to have it ready soon. At least that's what their page says. I love that it appears as a legit 80s or 90s inspired platformer, but that there are also some dark secrets via perhaps glitches that will likely come up in regards to the true stories behind the restaurants and the animatronics. I also just love that it takes its name from Circus Baby's speech about her wonderful day. I see what you did there, and I like it. Number 9, Five Nights at McDonald's. This was one of, if not the FNAF game to enter development first. This was one of the first, if not the first FNAF fan game to enter development. We're not really sure how far along this game is, but we know it's been in the works for apparently 7 years. The graphics make it look like something that could be released for like Nintendo 64. But hey, Nintendo 64 is well loved by many of us, so that might not end up being a bad thing if it ever actually does get finished. All we have to look at is some very blocky designs for characters and locations. Oh, and a live trailer that is admittedly pretty creepy, but also is live action, so it's more about giving us the feel for this game than any actual idea of what the game would be like to play. Five Nights at McDonald's is being created by Vortex Softworks, and you can follow along on the journey on Game Jolt. This is also just a cool one to be aware of and to follow, since it was, you know, apparently like the first one. It's like a bit of FNAF history. FNAF fan-made history. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to show us by giving this video a thumbs up. I love talking about all the cool fan-made stuff because the community is just so cool and creative, and I love it. So yeah, if you want more fan-made content, let us know. We can celebrate it. Number 8, Fredbears: The Origin / FNAF. Fredbears is a game that was meant to establish the lore as reimagined by fans of the first Freddy's location, Fredbear's Diner. It's implied based on teaser trailers and the description that you, in fact, may play as the killer in the series, but that at least for a time you're kind of unaware as to if you're responsible for any deaths or if something else might be going on. All in all, it sounds very creepy and mysterious, and a little confusing for this story, which I am into. I mean, if I didn't want confusing, would I even be talking about FNAF right now? However, this game seems to have been in development since 2015 and doesn't offer too much in terms of giving us glimpses into what could be upcoming gameplay. Fredbears is being developed by Copal Images, if it's still being developed. Our last little bit of intel was an opening scene still, which was shared 1 year ago on the Game Jolt page for this game. Number 7, Five Nights at Freddy's: Laughter and Joy. And we'll laugh and laugh and laugh. This game looks like it has a promising premise from the description, but it will likely never see the light of day or the darkness of night, as it's been in development since 2014. There also isn't much content on its Game Jolt page to suggest that it is anywhere close to being ready, or that it has even been continually worked on since it was announced. What we do have is a plot that involves worldwide locations of Freddy's being opened up as the company goes international in an attempt to basically drum up more business. I mean, that feels like a risky move if you were struggling to do well already. Also, where would you then get all that money to open all those locations internationally? But still, it's a cool idea if you can suspend your disbelief when it comes to the actual business side of that. I mean, maybe they were just like, hey, you can open a Freddy's in your place, just like you have to invest all the money. And then I guess it's a good idea. Either way, it's still a cool idea if you can kind of suspend your disbelief when it comes to perhaps the actual business side of that. The other interesting info we are given is an idea of the animatronic roster, including a new animatronic named Jammy Jr., who I really want it to be a cannibalistic Jammy Dodger animatronic. I know that's asking a lot, and I know that we'll probably never get this game, but if that could be a thing, I would love it. Number 6, Animator's Hell. This one has a few demos available, but that's it if you're looking to play. It's by Gestalt Games and can be found on GameJolt if you're looking to check out what is available at this point. The good news is the second demo came out only a few weeks ago. The bad news is that the previous demo came out a year ago, so progress is evidently slow going, and it might mean you have to wait a while before you'll see another demo or even a semi-finished full game when it comes to Animator's Hell. Animator's Hell was tested out on Game Theory Live though, so if you are a fan of MatPat, who had nothing but good things to say it seems, you might want to hit follow on GameJolt for this one, and stay tuned for when this game is fully released. Either way, you've got a couple playable demos that you can do, and that's more than a lot of games have, so you should check that out. Seems like the demos are pretty fun. I haven't played this one, but it looks pretty fun. Number 5, Pyro-Illusion. I guess a lot of these titles choose to be in all caps to, I don't know, attract your eye. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but there are a lot of FNAF titles that are like all in caps. But before Pyro-Illusion was Pyro-Illusion, in all caps, it was Five Nights at Roxy's. This game has over 20,000 followers, but still doesn't have much beyond preview images and trailers. Of course, all the imagery and glimpses into the world and character design thus far look so good that everyone obviously cannot wait for this game to be released, if it ever does get released. When it gets released? D. Demku has been working on the game for 4 years on GameJolt, it should be noted, so hopefully they're getting close soon because, you know, fans have been waiting for a while. Give us the game, we want to play! But also respect to people making games, because it's really hard work. So, also take your time. Give it to us, but take your time. But give it to us, you know? Number 4, Popgoes Evergreen. Popgoes is one of the games that is part of the FNAF Fanverse initiative, and when I say games, I should really be saying the franchise, because Popgoes has had full games released under the title, but they're now working within the Fanverse, which means some of the previous titles will no longer be considered canon. But this game, Popgoes Evergreen, and the prequel game, Popgoes Arcade, will be considered canon in the FNAF Fanverse, so yay. Popgoes' main character is an animatronic weasel, and while Evergreen is still in development, Arcade is available for you to play if you want to gear up for this exciting new title that will be canon within the FNAF fan extended universe. Exciting stuff! Their page on GameJolt also has a free soundtrack song available for download that makes for some pretty good creepy mood music. Popgoes Evergreen is being created by Kane Carter, so thanks Kane. Number 3, Five Nights at Candy's 4. This title isn't even fully finished yet. FNAF 4 is currently listed as just that, with the words working title following it in brackets. Five Nights at Candy's 4 is also created by Emil Ace Mako, the same creator behind the previous Candy's games within this franchise. And honestly, although there isn't much up for this game yet, it looks like one of the most scary ones to have come from this series. Five Nights at Candy's is also being welcomed into the FNAF Fanverse, so we can also expect to see these games making their way to consoles and mobiles soon. Ace has promised that this game will center more on Candy than on the rat, and will deliver tons more mini-games because obviously mini-games are the best. FNAF 4 seems to have been worked on for about a year, so while it's currently unreleased, odds are good we can at least expect to see this one at some point in the near future. Yay! Also, I feel like if you're part of the Fanverse, then that's a good sign. Number 2, Sinister Turmoil. Sinister Turmoil was a highly anticipated FNAF fan game that ended up being cancelled. Wah wah wah. However, the good news is there is a smaller version of the game available for fans to play that was released as kind of a final farewell to the project. What's really sad too is this game actually looks so good, so terrifying, and it was only in development for about a year and change before it was abandoned. So they didn't have that much time to create something that was already looking so promising, and yet they did that. Here's hoping that we see more content like this from Angus Games and their team in the future, and that we'll get something else FNAF themed from them, hopefully. The other thing that I love about this one is that it had a more mature rating in comparison to other FNAF fan-made games. So if you were looking for something that's like a little bit more adult in terms of the violence or the content, then this is a game that was trying to do that, which I appreciate as an adult that likes these games. Number 1, Porkchop's Horror Show. This game is a FNAF-inspired fan game with a very different premise from what I'm used to with these fan-made games. In Porkchop's horror show, you play as a contestant looking to earn money and fame as you attempt to escape a maze-like what appears to be asylum filled with death traps, while Porkchop attempts to hunt you down and kill you after tormenting you first. It's apparently not going to be an easy kill. That's what the description promises. Porkchop's horror show was, I believe, cancelled, but is currently uncancelled and maybe still in development. It is being created by Fiznom on GameJolt and has been in development since 2018. So, hopefully it's uncancelled and we'll see it soon.
In at 10, Final Nights. While originally this number was meant to be the Willy's Wonderland fan game, I couldn't find any information on it, and nobody who played this game included links in their description. Yet if we don't put a link to something we play, everyone flips out on us. No matter the double standard, Final Nights is much more fitting game for this list. The Final Nights series as a whole is pretty inventive. Starting off the series with Mike Schmidt fleeing the FNAF 1 pizzeria after it's losing power, but it being followed by a mysterious entity that escaped from Freddy called the Brother, and then escalates from there, eventually adding the Reaper animatronics and the mechanics of actually having to sleep to pass time in FNAF 3, ironically the same game the Reapers are introduced. The animatronics are scary, the story is scary, and it's all honestly more disturbing than the original game, and I think that's something that we can all appreciate. And at 9, Before the Good Memory. Before the Good Memory is a FNAF fan game made by GameJolt user Mr. Rybizzle. In this game you play as Richard, who is working at Fredbears Family Diner working to save up money to go to Junior's for his son's birthday. I'm assuming that it's the Juniors from Midnight Motorist. But as the GameJolt page puts it, it doesn't go good. The only two animatronics in the game are Spring Bonnie and Golden Spring Freddy, aptly named Fredbear, because, you know, it's Fredbear. But features helping on the office desk, which I don't think would happen, but hey, whatever, it's a fan game. After entering the office in this free roam diner, the player activates the animatronics that will begin free roaming and will charge at the player when seen. But you can lean around corners and turn your flashlight off to minimize your visibility. The game is definitely an interesting one and a different take on gameplay, and the sound design is good as well, making the jump scares really hit. In at 8, The Twisted Carnival. When 5 children are mysteriously found dead unexplainably after a ride on a Ferris wheel, it's obvious that something strange is happening, and the secrets must be uncovered. Working as a night guard at King's Carnival has its perks, like getting unfettered access to the park during the day, but during work hours, expect to spend long nights fending off Bear Hug and his gang of mechanical husks as you plunge deeper into the darkness of the Twisted Carnival. Can you solve the mystery? The Twisted Carnival is made by GameJolt user Galva_ and includes everything you love about a FNAF game. Multiple angles, a big door, or in this case a window, mini games, and terrifying animatronics. There is currently only a demo available, but nonetheless these animatronics are hella spooky. With characters like Foxtrot, Bonzo, Bear Hug, Chixie, and question mark, there is bound to be plenty of horror come the full game release. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm certainly not going to be playing it, but others will. And at 7, Baby's Nightmare Circus. This time you've gotten lost in your mind. You're trapped, unable to wake and remember. Best guess is to defend yourself in your dreadful sleep. Use your flashlight to ward off unwanted creatures. Venture to tents to explore. Find a way out. Created by Mixless on GameJolt, this is probably the scariest FNAF fan game based on Baby and the Funtime animatronics from what I've seen. These things are messed up and the story will send shivers down your already shaking spine just from looking at these screenshots. If you love Sister Location and the Funtime animatronics, take this game for a spin, because it's basically the Dark Carnival before the Dark Carnival was a real thing. It's great. It's also ironic that I'm saying about this one and not the Twisted Carnival, but that's Twisted, not Dark. And at 6, Twisted Reality. Created by GameJolt user PanPie, Twisted Reality is based on the second novel of the official FNAF series, The Twisted Ones, but is featuring other fan-made animatronics such as Twisted Fredbear instead of the official Twisted animatronics. The game was cancelled as the developer lost interest in the game, however, he is now currently making a reboot of the game called Twisted Reality Returns. The game takes place in Fazbear's Frightening Museum, where you're the, you guessed it, night guard who has to defend themselves from the dangerous Twisted animatronics buried underground. But during the day, while they may not come out, they still track you. The game currently has 3 animatronics and the player must use different ways to defend themselves. The player has a TV and a security monitor. While TV is used to check on infected Freddies, the player can use the security monitor to check on Twisted Fredbear. The power supply is limited, so the player must make sure to shut off their TV to cool down the generators. There is also a flamethrower feature and camera 3B in the monitor as well. This can be used to ward off any attackers, because, you know, it's fire. And the twisted animatronics are some of the most terrifying ones that we've been described, so it's bound to be fun. Halfway through into number 5, Golden Memory. Golden Memory, now Golden Memory Remastered, is a fan game created by GameJolt user Wester and features some damn good graphics from what I've been seeing. So if that's your cup of tea, I'd suggest that game for you. The game takes place at Fredbears Family Diner in 1983 and features 4 animatronics: Spring Bonnie, Fredbear, Freddy, and Bonnie, all with different mechanics, but also simple to send away. The jump scares are scary, and while the gameplay is simple, with animatronics appearing in your office and you needing to click a button to make them go away, when they do appear in your office, it's terrifying. Trust me, play it for yourself and you'll end up yourself. But yeah, play it for yourself, I'm not doing it. And at 4, Porkchop's Horror Show. Created by GameJolt user Fiznom, who is the one developing FNAF Plus as part of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative, Porkchop's Horror Show is a mix of free-roam point-and-click horror with the classic FNAF survival thrown in there to spice things up. Welcome, dear contestant, to the experience of a lifetime inside the reinforced walls of Porkchop's Horror Show, where the brave and mentally unstable alike come to throw their lives away for the promise of money, prizes, and fame. Relatable. Survive the winding corridors of the haunted meat factory, where our mechanical but maniacal friend Porkchop will hunt you down and make you wish your death were as quick and painless as a simple jump scare. However, the game is currently on hold since they're prioritizing FNAF Plus, which is understandable, but nevertheless this looks horrifying, and if you want a taste, you can play Porkchop's Adventure, which is a separate GameJolt game, but still by Fiznom. And at 3, Five Nights at Fredbears 3. Welcome to Fredbears Family Diner, also known as William's Restaurant, a new pizzeria burger restaurant based off the old Fredbears Family Diner and Fredbear and Friends. You work as a security guard from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and fend off animatronics for 5 nights. Not only that, you have to stay until 7 a.m. to conduct repairs on the animatronics too. You have 5 days until the party, so let's get ready. Five Nights at Fredbears 3 is getting a free roam remaster coming soon, and the game currently has a demo available as well and features your favorite killer animatronics and more, with new infected variants on the originals from what I've seen in gameplay videos. At least, if they weren't lying. The game is being made by Jordan is Grade 505, which pains me to say because that's my sister's name, on GameJolt, and the demo was released 6 months ago, but they still post regularly on GameJolt, like on their GameJolt page, so you can follow them if you'd like updates. The game looks absolutely horrific and wonderful, but again, I'm not gonna play it. You can. Penultimate lean in number 2, Dormitabis. Dormitabis is a fan game that was developed by Blackout, Own Trick, Steven Mater, and Super Arthur Bros. Faced with dangerous robotic abominations, the player has to survive 10 nights of terror and panic. The only thing that you're given to defend yourself is an old dusty desktop computer and your own reflexes. The player is challenged by a whole horde of robotic monstrosities who, ironically enough, used to be the protagonist's friends. This game is absolutely nuts, and the story is some of the darkest that I've seen. The game was made before the release of FNAF 4, so only includes details from the first 3 games, but it only needs those. Jesus Christ, if you're into some up then play this game, because there is gore galore, okay? With animatronics constantly showing decaying muscle and blood, and the muscles like stretch. Oh my god. If you've seen any of the alternate animatronic lists on this channel, then you'll have seen the Havoc animatronics or Garvey, this game's version of Springtrap, and just, dear god, this was also made before the William Afton name reveal, so there are a lot of things that are different to the main series, if that's what you're into. It's messed up. It's hella messed up, man. I'm telling you. Finally, in at number 1, The Joy of Creation. While Dormitabis may be disturbing, nothing can be as scary as The Joy of Creation. Both the free roam and story modes are horrifying. Created by Nixon on GameJolt, it's no wonder why this game was added to the Fazbear Fanverse. It's the night of August 8th, 2016, and Five Nights at Freddy's 2nd anniversary has passed. Celebrated worldwide, the hit indie horror series and its creator have made themselves a place in modern culture and the hearts of many. In this game, you play through the eyes of Scott Cawthon and his family, as they try to survive inside their own home on the dreadful night that brought the horror into reality. The scorched beings, whose origin and motives are yet unknown, find secrets lurking in the house and uncover the mysterious events that led to the cancellation of the next game in the series. You play in our world, up against ignited versions of our favorite animatronics. How is that not terrifying? You'll be in for a treat when playing this game. Each level has its own gameplay type, so it's not the same thing every night, and it's incredible. If you haven't played it, I highly suggest that you do. I haven't played it, but I've watched it. Just the fact that it's in our world just makes it so messed up. And you're playing as Scott, and now he announced his retirement, which only makes this more real. And it's not okay.
And a 10, Five Nights at Boys. What the actual living hell is this game? Five Nights at Boys is a series of FNAF fan games made by using RPG Maker, so obviously not following the same principles as the original games. And it's a very crude take on the franchise that has you battling against party favors and recruiting other animatronics to join your team like a messed up version of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. The ultimate goal of the game is to defeat all security cameras and then defeat the final boss, and clearly it has an entirely different tone than the other games. The first game is based on the original FNAF, but introduces characters from the second like toy animatronics, Balloon Boy, and the Puppet. The second game is based on FNAF 2, with Toy Freddy being the main protagonist, and the third is based on FNAF 3, with Springtrap and Golden Freddy as playable characters. The games also have a final mixed version with a new story and updated content and balancing. The creators of F-Boys were fans of Golden Freddy's debauchery simulator, so aspects of those games have been covered as well. What? What? Oh my god. And at 9, Five Nights at Ripley's. Mostly known as Space Seclusion, the gameplay is like FNAF meets Alien Isolation, and it doesn't work. The animations for the alien itself are just way too human. It definitely wouldn't walk like that. And that's what makes the game feel less scary. The free roam mechanic is interesting, but it's not really going to help anyone when you're supposed to be watching the cameras to see where the alien is going. The game doesn't tell you the controls and tries to set itself up to be such a big and fun experience because it has infinite levels that just keep getting harder. But that to me seems like lazy game development. Infinite levels with increasing difficulty is like mobile game design. Having things get difficult and then adding new features should be the way to do it. Just because there are infinite nights doesn't make it not a FNAF clone with an Alien Isolation twist. And the name, Space Seclusion. Really? Talk about not creative, you just opened up the thesaurus and then found a synonym for isolation. And where do the aliens live? Space. And at 8, Five Nights at Weed. Created by a super Christian, which I think is ironic in and of itself, the only video on Game Jolt page is called I Love You, and it's just a crappy doll stop motion, and the only description of this game is a link to a couple of the sounds used in the game. The comments on the game are atrocious. Aside from people legit commenting first comment 2018 and first comment 2019, people are saying the game doesn't work and you can't do anything. They also are having viruses, as one of the commenters says. These comments are worse than the ones on the other FNAF videos hating on us for misgendering a robot. Like, it's literally a robot, who cares? They say the game isn't completable and that there is no point in playing it, and I'll take their comments as fact, because apparently even PewDiePie played this and couldn't get it to work. I don't want to give my computer some virus that's going to cause it to have to stay in its case for the next month and a half. Topical. And at 7, Five Nights at YouTube Office. Hello? Welcome to your new super job at the YouTube office. Now, there's some things you need to know. First off, there are some YouTubers who tend to wander and sleepwalking. They may try to attack you, but don't worry, they probably won't. We've been looking for someone to fill this position for a while. No one seems to want it because of the rumors that have been going around. Rumor has it some YouTubers are possessed and haunt the YouTube offices at your scheduled work time. That's specific. Also, we have given you your very own PewDiePie head. It should work on all the YouTubers except PewDiePie himself. With PewDiePie, you have to keep a music box wound up. But if you don't, he will come after you no matter what. But don't worry, just wind up the music box. Put on the PewDiePie head if you need to, and everything should be good. Piece of cake. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. That is the description this game gives you, and I had to correct some grammar. And man, this guy doesn't even know how to use periods. Ellipses don't go at the end of every sentence. But also, the game cover is just bad. Maybe it's intended to be a riff on the YouTube thumbnails, but the fact that people in this game are big YouTubers shows that the decision would have been misguided. These YouTubers have good thumbnails. All you did was take Joey Graceffa's face and then cover Freddy's with it. And then put YouTube's logo over the Freddy title in the really crappy white box that you drew with the brush tool. I could have done something better using MS Paint. I do the thumbnails for most of these videos if you didn't know. And at 6, Five Nights at Sonic's. Look, it's hard to make a game, no arguments. However, it's even harder to make a good game on Scratch. But the amount of Five Nights at Sonic games there are on Scratch hurts me on a deep level. I've talked about Five Nights at Sonic's before on another fan games list, but the thing is, it's not different from FNAF. The gameplay is exactly the same, if not a little clunkier, and the only thing that's different is the animatronics. They aren't even modeled, they're made to look 3D, they're just static. And while I understand what it takes to make a game, the rest of the FNAF fan base, or at least the majority, doesn't. So, they're complaining that the only way to make a good FNAF game is to add something new, but I disagree. You can have a good fan game that plays similarly to FNAF. Take Five Nights at Candy's for example. However, their graphics are on par if not better than the original FNAF. But a game like Joy of Creation Story Mode is a great game because it adds something new. If you want to make a great FNAF fan game, take your time with it. Have good graphics and craft a good story. Make your own characters and then you find something new to add into the mix and then boom, you're golden. Do something like just draw all the characters flatly with no shading and then use some of the same mechanics from FNAF 2 and it can't be good. And it definitely won't be. Just like my grammar. Halfway through number 5, Five Nights at Wario's. This game is in a similar vein to Five Nights at Sonic's. And while Sonic may feature characters from both Sonic and Mario, Five Nights at Wario's only focuses on the Nintendo spectrum of characters. The game's loading screen is horrifyingly awkward. The faces of Wario and Luigi are just all kinds of wrong. However, the game also plays exactly the same as FNAF. Like, even Scott Cawthon was able to find ways to mix things up. And while FNAF World may not have been a terrible success, I found myself loving the Danger Keep Out minigame in the Curse of Dreadbear DLC.
I can't reset the power until Chica's gone. I've reset Chica. Oh. Come on, go. Reset, come on.
The game plays exactly like the original FNAF, and it's why everyone dislikes it. If you wanted to play FNAF, you could just play FNAF. And like I said, sure, you can make a good game if you use the same mechanics like FNAF, but FNAF also has their own animatronics, their own characters. But with Five Nights at Wario's, you are literally just fighting against other famous characters like Wario, Waluigi, Mario, Luigi, and Peach. If you had made your own, I would have enjoyed it, but you didn't. So that's why you're on this list. And at 4, the worst FNAF World game ever made. The funny thing about this title is that it's basically just FNAF World. Boom! Roasted! But actually, though, the game is literally the worst FNAF World game. The screen is split into the full screen game and then another version of the exact same thing, taking up a quarter of your screen in the top left. The ability to focus on that corner is lost to me, and I don't want to have to touch this game with a 10-foot pole. The game gets stuck on a new item screen for like 5 minutes and then it's just basically FNAF World, which is really illegal and does not fall under fair use since the damn thing isn't different enough. It's not like if the game has bugs and then you fix them, it's a different game. Unless it's Skyrim, because if it's Bethesda, it's not a bug, it's a feature. But still, fixing bugs or making more content doesn't change the contents of the game, and therefore the game is highly illegal. It's only at number 4 because it will get worse from here. Bear with me. These next few are laughable. Getting close to the end at number 3, 5 Dank Nights at Memes. Look, considering how every time I try to say this title I say 5 Nights at Dank Memes instead of the actual title should speak for itself. While yes, the game is bad, it somehow managed to get itself 2 sequels, one of which is still in the works to my knowledge. There's a phone guy call that is literally a robot reading the same night one phone call that you get in FNAF. Plus, the doors are just red and gray boxes that say Meme Door and Big Meme Door on them. Oh, also it's on Scratch. The cameras are inaccessible as far as I could tell, and the fact that Shrek is the one who killed me is sad. And he only killed me because there was a delay between opening the doors and then closing them again, which isn't present in the normal game. While yes, you made a game and it's impressive, you took no care in making the game good. If you had a little more concentration or devotion and had tried this again, it may have been good, but it's also available on Scratch and there is no good FNAF games on Scratch. And at 2, the worst Five Nights at Freddy's fan game. The worst Five Nights at Freddy's fan game ever is, as it suggests, the self-proclaimed worst FNAF fan game ever. Loosely based on the original FNAF game, the game itself has no plot, kind of like the original, before the others came out. It takes characters from multiple different universes and puts them together in combination with canon characters like Chica, and also terribly made original characters. The list includes Bubsy the Bobcats, Shrek the Ogre, Chica the Chicken, Slime the Slime, Dolly the poorly made doll, Mad Father, a Psycho Man, and Ouija the evil Luigi who appears when you run out of power. But sadly enough, this game, despite all the bad characteristics of it, is beat out by one game. What could this game be? How on earth could it beat out the worst Five Nights at Freddy's fan game? Well, finally, and at number 1, Five Nights at the Car. The description of the game is, "Hey bro, thanks for doing this job. You are a 10-year-old kid who is in his car at the mall waiting for your mom, but weird things want to kill you, so your job is to protect yourself from them. If you're hearing this, you're crazy." What? This game is so absurdly bad, it hurts me. Thanks for doing this job. We're 10 waiting in a car. What job? The game is literally just a PNG file that looks absolutely atrocious with no functionality. Don't get me wrong, I know it takes a lot to make a game, but I could make a better game than this with Scratch. This is just a cardinal sin of humanity, and it needs to be put down. Take it out to pasture. Put a bullet between the eyes. God, I hope this was a joke. It's a PNG file. Ah! It's so bad. Oh my god, it makes me mad.
Number 10, Five Nights at Candy's. Five Nights at Candy's is another big FNAF fan game franchise, and this first one was simply the beginning of this spin-off franchise. Like some other games, Five Nights at Candy's also makes mention of Freddy's Pizza, but in this game, the restaurant no longer remains competitive because it's already been shut down. The design for Candy's and these animatronics also remains pretty frightening. Although I will say, I think overall FNAF is more scary if we're just talking about the first Candy's game at least. The main characters at Candy's are cat animatronics Cindy and Candy, but they also have lots of other disturbing and in some cases bizarrely cute friends join them. Like some of these animatronics are nightmare fuel, and then other ones I'm like, I kinda wanna like be friends with that animatronic. Number 9, Five Nights at Flumpty's 2. I think one of the best things about Five Nights at Flumpty's overall is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. But the other thing that is really amazing about it is it's actually scary as well. It's like a parody game that will make you chuckle but will also haunt your nightmares at the same time. While the original game was more in the vein of Five Nights at Freddy's in terms of its formula, Flumpty's 2 pushes the envelope even more, resulting in a more weird and horrifying experience for players in comparison to that first game. Just look at the room you start in after all, like what is even happening here? I'm not exactly sure about everything that's going on, but I definitely know it's not good. I also just think the mechanics in the game really add to the level of paranoia you feel while playing, like the laptop restart, which you have to go through every time you fully exhaust your laptop battery while looking at the security monitors. So don't do that. Don't let your laptop die. Also, it's not good for your laptop. Real facts though. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to learn about more scary FNAF fan games, you know that there are so many. There are so many we could talk about. So be sure to let us know that you love it by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Popgoes. Popgoes has a new game that should be coming out with the FNAF extended universe with the FNAF Fanverse initiative. But while you wait, Popgoes and Popgoes Arcade are still available to play. I believe Popgoes is where it all started, and it's a game created in the style of FNAF where you work at Popgoes Pizzeria as a nighttime security guard. Popgoes' main animatronic, you guessed it, is a weasel. A creepy weasel that throughout the night will sneak away to grab animatronic parts so that he can build his own horrifying creation. The game also features a panic meter which you have to keep low by looking out the window. Ah, so relaxing looking out the window. Watching the panic meter increase is enough to make me actually panic in this game. Number 7, Porkchop's Horror Show. Porkchop's Horror Show is an unreleased FNAF fan game where players attempt to survive a horror game show, risking their lives in exchange for the chance at winning fabulous money and prizes. The overall design of this game and characters look pretty terrifying, which is why, despite it not being released yet, many fans of the FNAF franchise were still excited to see and play it. Of course, it has been in development for a long time and has even been cancelled at least once, only for the promise of it to return to us, those of us who are eagerly awaiting its release. If it is ever released, it will be a combination of point and click mechanics and free roam. Until it does, we only have the stills, preview, and promise of it to keep us going. However, it is also part of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. Scott Cawthon announced on Reddit that its developer Fiznom would be bringing an original reimagining of FNAF to the FNAF verse. Although this game wasn't necessarily listed, a lot of us are like, that's gotta be Porkchop's Horror Show. So who knows, it could still end up happening. Keep those fingers crossed, my friends. Number 6, Those Nights at Rachel's. Is this game just a better FNAF game? In my opinion, sort of. In this game, you are a security guard at Rachel's where you must try to survive through the entire night shift and prevent the animatronics from attacking you. The game was made in Unreal Engine by the popular and accomplished FNAF fan game designer extraordinaire Nick Som, who also designed another horrifying FNAF fan game you may have heard of, The Joy of Creation, and others within that series. So yeah, that's the level we're at with this. Some of the animatronics featured in Those Nights at Rachel's I actually find more horrifying to gaze upon in comparison to the core animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. The other thing I love about this game in terms of the horror elements when it comes to the game's story is that it actually takes place in the same world as FNAF, at least in the story it's mentioned. Freddy's is mentioned as being a problematic restaurant down the street whose controversies and scandals are actually negatively impacting Doug's and Rachel's business as well. Good old Doug's and Rachel's. Number 5, Five Nights at Candy's 4. Because in the world of FNAF fan games, some of these games have become so popular, they've even created their own series of games. There is just a very real demand for really good FNAF fan games. And Five Nights at Candy's was one of the breakouts when it came to being considered one of the best. Despite the fact that I ranked the first game in the series a little bit lower on this list, it's only because each game has really only improved on the creep factor here. FNAF 4 is not released yet, but appears, just from the stills and the teasers on its Game Jolt page, to be one of the most terrifying in that series yet. Five Nights at Candy's has also been welcomed into the FNAF Extended Universe by Scott Cawthon himself, joining the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. Number 4, Final Nights 3, Nightmares Awaken. I think this one deserves to be so high up just for like the game's location. It takes place at a hospital and you must try to survive and somehow sleep while also dealing with Reaper animatronics, which is about as scary as you can imagine. Also, hospitals in general are just scary. In fact, it actually might not even be scarier than you're imagining if you haven't played this game before, so you need to go play it. Something as well about the idea of sleeping while all this madness is going on just breaks my brain in a way. Like, I don't want to sleep if there are things hiding in my closet. I don't want to do that. How am I supposed to sleep knowing that these Reapers are out there wanting to probably tear me apart? And every time I wake up, I'm probably gonna die. That's what's about to happen. I'm like, I can't sleep. Number 3, The Joy of Creation. The Joy of Creation is the game that started it all for this franchise. It was inspired by Boogeyman and FNAF 4. Here you play as Scott Cawthon himself, fending off animatronics who seem to be attempting to scare and threaten you, to encourage you, I guess, to make even more animatronics or even more games. The Joy of Creation has some very disturbing designs when it comes to the animatronics, and although the game is simple, it's very well put together. The character of Scott in this game also seems to be a bit like William in the sense that he also apparently has animatronics and is warned at the beginning of the game that if he doesn't replace the mainframes on his animatronics, they're going to be like a danger to those that they perform for. So he seems to also be a builder of animatronics. This game, I believe, was only ever developed as a demo before it was abandoned, but if you love it and you find it as terrifying as I do, you can check out the finished and remastered version, The Joy of Creation Reborn. Number 2, Five Nights at Treasure Island. Five Nights at Treasure Island was possibly one of the first fan games ever made based off of the FNAF franchise, and I gotta say, it's a pretty good one. It still holds up to this day. This one blended together the mechanics of FNAF with the oh so cursed world of Disney. At least we all like to imagine the world of Disney is cursed. I don't know how cursed it is in real life. In Five Nights at Treasure Island, you face off against animatronics at Old Treasure Island, which are Disney icons including Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy, or really messed up versions of them. Another interesting and disturbing part of Treasure Island is that the animatronics, or toons in this case, are all super twisted in some way. Honestly, in retrospect, this game reminds me now of a combination of Bendy and the Ink Machine mixed with FNAF. Number 1, The Joy of Creation Story Mode. I feel like The Joy of Creation has elements of FNAF 4, but if it was like maybe even scarier. This fan game is meant to be a follow-up that goes through what happens after Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Now of course, this is a fan game, so none of this is really considered canon, but it does a great job of encapsulating the feel of the FNAF universe and the lore, which is why a lot of fans will sometimes even consider it as part of the world when reflecting on certain characters and certain stories. It just fits so well. What makes it scary? The sound design, the whole atmosphere, the creepy story, the animatronics. I mean, it's really got the whole package, which is why it's number 1.